what is an immigration pathway to Scotland? So this is the, like, I feel like a crazy lady, you know, kind of thing. Like, what if I moved to Scotland? And so I'm like thinking, so I have lived internationally before for 6 months on a 6-month student visa. And there was, like, I had to get a visa and I'd fill out a bunch of paperwork before I went. And I get the sense, I have not lived, like, permanently relocated to a different location in my life. Internationally, like, of my own initiative and or my soulmate's initiative, so to speak. So how different is it? I would guess it's something that's tail heavy as opposed to front heavy. So with a student visa, it's send everything out, get the visa, go and return, and it's done. Versus, like, with immigration, like, getting into the country is a starting point, because, and then it, like, if one goes through like a 5-year naturalization process, there's no getting out. It's compared to like a 6-month I'm back and I'm done, like, it's a much more tail heavy change. So I wouldn't know, and there's, you know, a bunch of immigration laws and procedures, but those can be, like, very variable and very specific for each person. So especially if, like, someone immigrating on their own versus somebody immigrating with a husband who's Scottish, versus somebody who's maybe like me, who's immigrating, has a husband that's Scottish or a soulmate that's Scottish, and then I have Scottish ancestry. And then there's people who have kids, and like, or what about people who have squirrels? You know, like, so yeah. So as far as the immigration pathway, I guess I came up with, like, a list, and I don't know if this would be in chronology. Embassy. Do I need to go to an embassy before I leave? Like, I think it was an embassy, or it was some sort of office. There was, like, for each country, there's, like, different, for when I lived in South Africa, I had to send my stuff into, like, my region of the United States of America had an office where if you wanted a visa or something like that, you had to send all the materials into that office for your region, which I think for me was, like, Illinois. So I was like, thank goodness I can mail it via snail mail instead of having to travel. But I don't know if that's necessary, or if for immigration, because I was so our visa is returning, so the United States of America goes, okay, we gotta come back, right? Versus immigration, it's like the final destination is a different country, versus with the student visa, the final destination is the same country. So then would it be an embassy in Scotland? And then I went to the Edinburgh City Chambers on the Royal Mile in July 2019, but I didn't do, like, here's my immigration paperwork. But, like, this is related to the embassy thing, is, like, where would I go on the other side? Right? Serving a mandatory detention for my work in nuclear physics. Like, if I had, does that include prison time? Would I need to figure out the prison system in Scotland? If I had a 4-year sentence and my Leon had a 26-year sentence for killing my rapist, could we get that down to a 6-month sentence if we served it together in a male-only penitentiary, and he and I shared the same cell with a single bed, which would be kind of, like, especially during a heat wave, that would, don't worry, we're boring, we'll wait until we're public married to do anything anyway. But, like, heat wave, like, can you imagine having to share a bed in a single bed in a prison without any air conditioning, like, during a heat wave? Like, okay, so could we get the sentence down to 6 months if we did it together? And then, like, shower time would be, like, all of the men, you know, different shower times, and Leon and I get our own shower time, you know, kind of thing. And then if we were serving a 6-month sentence, would it be extended to 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days? So that'd be, like, if it started February 26, 2019, then it would end February 26, 2022 would be 3 years later. 3 months later would be March, April, May, and then 3 days later would be 29. So that would start February 26, 2019, end May 29, 2022. That kind of thing. Okay. Green card and naturalization. Does my Scottish ancestry come into play? Do I get a green card because Kyle was born there? Do I have to go through a 5-year naturalization process? Does my Scottish ancestry come into play? Different European countries have different rules and laws on that kind of stuff. Like 5th generation law, you have land rights. That's Norway for me. I don't think Scotland has that, but I don't know what their immigration or property laws are in relation to ancestry, or if they do, if they apply to me or my case. Bank accounts. So I have 2 Boeing Employee Credit Union and Mechanics Bank. What do I do with my money? I don't have a lease. I don't have a house here. I have a car. So I guess bank accounts, car, automobile. What do I do with those? How do I get that transferred? So and then I have my belongings, but that's pretty straightforward. And then YouTube, I guess that would be, so in my video, just the about tab for this channel, I currently have Seattle resident. Could change it to Scotland resident, and then put the country of location as United Kingdom instead of the United States of America, which could work. Right? That's actually a pretty clever solution, because then I get Scotland and United Kingdom. Or it could be, if I live in Edinburgh, I could do Edinburgh resident. I wouldn't necessarily, if I lived in Aberdeen, I wouldn't necessarily put Aberdeen resident, because there's a bunch of places called Aberdeen, you know. So like Scotland resident might be a happy solution, especially if we have more than one house, you know, kind of thing. Yelp, that would be updating my current location. They have like a hometown and then where one's located. So it would be updating my location. Yelp does have, Yelp does exist in the United Kingdom. And then I guess there's if Bergen, Norway is my birth town, do I want to update my hometown to Bergen, Norway instead of Seattle, Washington? Yeah. So something to think about. And then LinkedIn, that would be updating my location. In job, if applicable, or jobs if applicable, but primarily location. And so this is going to go in my moving playlist. This is really like spitballing, but it's something that, like, if I were to move to Scotland, this is stuff that does matter and come into play. But it's super specific and requires going through to to actually have the lived experience of what does matter for each person in each situation. So this is my spitballing an immigration pathway to Scotland with a question mark, because the specifics of these things play out as it happens. So it's, at least for me, not necessarily known entirely in advance. So happy Monday, 19 June 2023.